Nobody throws a bigger tantrum than a narcissist getting shown facts and evidence of something they definitely did do. This video is about common ways a narcissist might react towards you when they get caught in the act. And that act can be lying to you, cheating on you, breaking promises on you, stealing from you. It can be various things that a narcissist has done to manipulate you, manipulate somebody else, gain supply from somebody, some form of behaviour that narcissist does not want to take responsibility for. Therefore, they're going to do all they can to worm their way out of the situation, often leaving you feeling confused, annoyed, angry, frustrated, hurt, seeking closure, seeking answers. When you have your answers are this person does not want to take responsibility for their behaviour. Therefore, they're not going to change their behaviour. They're just going to repeat their behaviour and carry on gaslighting you, which very difficult to recognise when we don't understand what they are doing. So here's a video on some of the common behaviours of a narcissist when they get caught out in the act. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers and your continued support. It's greatly appreciated. If you are new to the channel, I'm Elizabeth Shaw. This channel is all about the narcissist personality disorder to give you more understanding of the people you might have been dealing with in your life, how to handle yourself around those people if you cannot go no contact, and different methods to find what works for you to help you overcome narcissistic abuse. If you do find the information helpful on the channel, please do subscribe. So one of the first things a narcissist might do when they are caught in the act is deny all knowledge. They might come at you and say, "That wasn't me. I never said that. That never happened. You must be imagining things again. You must be mistaken." Now, we can all be mistaken, we can all misunderstand or misjudge a situation. However, when two genuine people come together and one misunderstands the other, there is usually some form of communication to come to some form of understanding with each other. When you're dealing with a narcissist is usually claiming that you misunderstood them because you understood what they said or did perfectly well. But they don't want you to recognise what they said or did, so they want to confuse you by claiming that you misunderstand them. And there's not going to be that two-way conversation. They're going to come at you with the phrases and the actions within this video to distract you from their actions. So they might start deflecting the topic of conversation. They might start triangulating and bringing a third person into the conversation. So if they spend a lot of money on gambling, and when you first met them they said they just like to flutter now and again, and then all of a sudden you find yourself no longer able to access your bank accounts and they are literally bleeding you dry, and you try to discuss this with them, they're going to come at you and say, "Oh, what about so-and-so? So-and-so goes drinking at the pub every night and then never home. Aren't you lucky to have me?" Most narcissists have some form of addiction, and whatever addiction they have, if you try to speak to them about this addiction, they're going to bring up somebody else's addiction to deflect the topic of conversation away from themselves. So if you like a drink or two in the evening, which drinking is legal, you are allowed to do so, and they take a drug which is illegal, they're going to compare your drinking to their drug taking to try and rationalise their irrational behaviour away. They're going to try and make out that you should be grateful, you should feel lucky that you've got them and not what somebody else has got. Because they're incredibly envious of others, because they're always looking for more. They believe that you're envious of others, so they believe that you should be grateful when you're not comparing them to anybody else. You're just trying to resolve the situation at hand, which a narcissist doesn't want to take responsibility for, therefore it's not going to get resolved. They're going to derail you, probably come out with things like the word salad. Do we need to talk about this now? It's such a lovely day. Do you remember when we went here? How about that friend of yours? What do you think they're doing now? They're going to do all they can to take you off the topic of conversation, muddling lots of different conversations that do make sense, but put them into one conversation so that you're left bewildered, wondering what on earth they are talking about. They might even just start discussing what's for dinner that evening, or what you had for dinner the evening before. Anything to derail you from the topic of conversation and onto what they want to talk about, not what actually needs discussing. They might distract you, and they can distract you in a few ways. They can distract you in a positive way to confuse you. They can distract you with, hey, remember when we did this? And bring up a positive memory to leave you feeling hopeful, to leave you feeling like you're in the wrong for bringing something up when they've done something for you that was really kind, or when you really enjoyed a moment together. You feel like you're then ruining that moment, and it's all done to distract you so that they don't have to discuss the topic at hand, but they do it in a positive way. They do it to get you to try and remember the good times, which the good times is usually manipulation by the narcissist to suck you into their games in the first place, or to try and get you to remember if they've broken a promise on you. They're going to try and get you to remember a promise they delivered on, because you understand that people forget things, people make mistakes in life, so you're then remembering the good side in them and not seeing the bad side in them. Or they can distract you in a negative way by accusing you. What about you? What about when you did this? So that you become on the defensive to them. And this usually depends on what kind of mood the narcissist is actually in. If the narcissist is feeling quite smug that they've got away with something, they'll bring up something positive because they don't feel like they've been cornered enough for that resentment to come out in them. They feel smug within themselves, so they're going to fool you by bringing up the good times. Whereas if a narcissist has suffered a narcissistic injury and feels cornered, they're then going to deflect it straight onto you by accusing you, what about when you did this, to get you on the defensive so that you have to defend yourselves to them for the things that they've done to you. And it might be things you haven't even done, but to a narcissist, that is irrelevant. They want to get you on the defensive so that they can accuse you, so that they can provoke you, so that they can chip away at you, so that they can get a reaction from you, so that they can blame everything on you. And once they've got that reaction from you, they're going to stand there looking all calm and say, what's your problem? You're losing your mind. You're going a bit crazy. Is everything okay? Can I help you? Because they feel better within themselves then, that they've managed to control your emotions, therefore control the situation. You're then feeling remorseful for your reactions, and they don't have to take responsibility for their actions. They can confuse you by saying, who told you that? To get you to question the person that might have told you some information, to get you to feel bad for the person that might have told you some information. They might come at you to get you questioning and doubting yourself. They might come at you and say, do you really think I would do that? Do you really think I would say that, to cause that doubt within your mind? And this is when they can come at you and say, you just can't let things go, can you? To get you to question yourself and not them. And the reason we can't let things go, because we can recognize that we haven't let something go, because It's never been resolved. Nothing gets resolved with a narcissist. So we bring it back up. They say we can't let things go. We can recognise that, oh, we haven't let that go. We have brought it back up. So we question ourselves and not the fact that they won't resolve an issue. When they come at you and say, can't you just move on already? You might have already moved on. However, there's issues in the past that haven't been finalised, that haven't been sorted. Therefore, they keep bringing you into the past because they're not willing to move on. They're not willing to let go. Therefore, they're going to project this out on you. They're not going to give you that closure. They're not going to resolve an issue. They're not going to find that mutual ground. They're not going to apologise. They're going to do all they can to try and keep you trapped, so that you have to keep approaching them to sort things out because they don't want to let go. However, when you bring something up that they don't want to resolve, they're going to accuse you of not letting things go, so that you're the one questioning yourself and not them. It's the same as if you catch them cheating. They're going to come at you and say you're hung up on your past. You have trust issues, and you're going to have trust issues around those who have cheating issues. You are going to question somebody's loyalty towards you who is disloyal to you. You are going to question those who talk about you behind your back, because it's going to cause those trust issues. Those are your instincts speaking out to tell you that this is the kind of person you shouldn't trust and you don't want to be around. However, when we don't have the knowledge of what our instincts are telling us, and when the very person we believe cares for us is the person that's gaslighting and confusing us, it's hard to see what's happening to us. They might start future faking with you. If they haven't got another source of supply lined up, they might come at you and say, let's get married, let's go and buy the house, let's go on a holiday, let's have that baby. They're going to do all they can to give you that false hope. A narcissist will stand there and outright deny doing something. They could have had a child with somebody else, and they will stand there and claim that you made them have that child with somebody else that they don't even want. Yet they will say to you, let's have a baby together. And this is a situation where you have to take a step back and recognise that they actually believe this within themselves. They believe you made them go and do that. Usually because you didn't give in to them. They didn't get their own way with you. They suffered some form of narcissistic injury, so they went and sought supply elsewhere, and then there's consequences to their actions, but they don't want to take responsibility for those consequences for their actions. Therefore, they're going to shift the blame onto you, and if they haven't got another source of supply, they're going to go all out to try and suck you back in. You really do have to stand there and distance yourself from the situation, and if you can, in your own mind, laugh at their unbelievability of the words and how serious they are and the words they are saying to you. Don't laugh directly at them. This could cause narcissistic injury. And when a narcissist is trying to get away with something, if all else fails, or if they can't think of something on the spot, they might rage out at you, and it can put you in a dangerous situation. They might play the victim. They might try to shift the blame over to you. They might come at you with, oh, I knew it would be my fault. So you always blame me, don't you? Again, it's a form of their projection because it is their fault, but they're wanting to shift that fault at your door so that they don't have to take responsibility. They can usually follow with things like, oh, I knew it would be my fault. I forgot you were perfect. To try and make you feel guilty for not allowing them a mistake. However, with a narcissist, it's not a mistake, it's a repeat pattern of behaviour that they won't take responsibility for, and they keep repeating. They can come at you with the old, if you hadn't, I wouldn't. Because a narcissist genuinely believes, and you might not have actually technically done anything to them. However, a narcissist believes you've done something to them. You might not have sliced their tomato thin enough for their sandwich, and they've taken this as criticism that you don't know them well enough. Therefore, they go out to seek supply, or they go out to seek revenge, and they believe it's your fault for not serving them exactly how they want to be served. However, they don't want to communicate with you on how they want to be served. They want you to guess all that. And when you guess wrong, they're going to punish you. And when they punish you, they're going to blame you. And they can play the victim by saying, oh, I knew you'd take their side. You never listened to me. When it's quite difficult listening to a narcissist with all the word salad that falls out of their mouths. And once they've gone through all the gaslighting phrases to try and get away with something, once they've raged out at you to try and put that fear within you to stop you, if all else fails and the future faking hasn't worked, that false hope, the breadcrumbing hasn't worked, this is when a narcissist might just fall silent on you so that you can't communicate with them. So you can't resolve issues with them, keeping you trapped in that loop of pain, frustration, resentment, anger, despair, and confusion. This is when we have to recognise who they are. We have to recognise the games they play, the words they come out with, the fact that they will not take responsibility for their own behaviour. Therefore, they're not going to change their behaviour. They're going to look for ways to get out of suffering any form of consequences for their behaviour, and then they will repeat this behaviour because they learned the last time that they got away with it. Whether a narcissist does this instinctively or intentionally is who they are. If they do it instinctively, if they do it on impulse, it's their personality, it's their core values, it's their beliefs, and they're not going to take responsibility to recognise what they're doing to change their behaviour. If they do this intentionally, they want to hurt you. They're not going to take responsibility, and they're not going to change their behaviour. Instinctively or intentionally, they lack the empathy to care for how their behaviour hurts you. They only care for how they can get away with it. And they often believe that they're entitled to get away with it because it's one rule for them and another rule for you. You're not allowed to break a promise on them. However, they believe they can break promises on you, and you should just deal with it, which is another thing a narcissist can come out with. They can just turn around and say, deal with it, because to them, it's not their problem. To them, it's your problem. When it comes to closure, closure is something we have to give ourselves. You're not going to get closure with a narcissist. Issues aren't going to be resolved with a narcissist. We have to recognise this within ourselves when we understand what we're dealing with. And we have to recognise that here is a person that is unable or unwilling to take responsibility for their own actions. I know what happened. I know my truth, and I'm going to stand in my truth. They're not remorseful. They won't take responsibility. They're not remorseful for how their behaviour has hurt me or hurt those around them. They don't want to repair the damage because they don't believe they're at fault. Therefore, this isn't the kind of person that I want to be spending too much of my time around. And the closure is you closing the door on them and moving on to create a new life for you. Letting them go and live their life while you go and live yours. This can be difficult with the games a narcissist plays. I shall add the two sides to a narcissist after no contact, so you're aware of the behaviour that they might display when this happens. There's plenty of things a narcissist will do when they get caught out on the act. Those that I've missed out of the video, please add those into the comments. Any phrases you've heard, please also add those into the comments. I shall do a video on how narcissists use your emotions against you to confuse you, and the gaslighting phrases narcissistic people say to get out of something by blaming your emotional responses. I shall add into the description a video on the things that narcissistic people say also. Thank you very much for listening. Go out there and create the day that you deserve, because you do deserve to have an amazing day. Bye.